Hi, welcome to the Corner of Knit and Tea, episode 377. Sorry, yes, 377. My name is Laura, and I'm also known as Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, which is where this episode and every episode show notes will be, and I have an Etsy shop where I sell my handspun yarns and my knitting patterns called The Corner of Knit and Tea. Hi, how are you? It is Monday, May 9th, and it is a scorcher here just outside of Kansas City. It is above 90 degrees Fahrenheit today. And we are kicking off the summer temps a little bit early. Last week was just beautiful, and Saturday I met up with a friend and we sat outside and drank coffee, and it was 73 or 74 degrees Fahrenheit, and it was lovely. And today it's just hot and humid and gross, and it will remain that way for the rest of this week. So I am sitting in the house in air conditioning, and I decided to grab a little bit of knitting to wear. This is my Calliope cowl, which is a sort of a combination shawl and cowl. I knit it in, the pattern itself is by Karina Spencer, who actually is a Kansas City area designer. And then I knit it in Manos del Uruguay Alegria Grande. It was two skeins, and I used about 1.5. And it is in the Tanat colorway, or Tanat. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's T-A-N-N-A-T, a perfect palindrome. And I chose it because you will see that I used the leftovers in something that I created this week. So that was what made me pick it out today. So I hope that you are doing well. Like I said, we are kind of bopping back and forth between spring and summer. I am happy for the warmer weather and the sunshine because it does wonders for my mood. I am not quite so happy for it to be so steamy and gross out just yet. Here in the US, and I know in several other countries around the world, yesterday was Mother's Day. We actually didn't see either of our mothers. My mother lives in California, and as I said, I am coming to you from just outside Kansas City. And my mother-in-law lives a couple of hours away, but we just didn't make it out to see her. We sent both of them flowers and spoke with them yesterday, and hope they had lovely days. So wherever you are, I hope that you either were celebrated or celebrated your mother, or were able to take a day for yourself, just for some peace and quiet, if neither of those apply. And I hope that you got lots of crafty time in. So I guess I'll kick off today because obviously I was thinking about summer and summer temperatures. I went for a peach tea because there is nothing I love more than peach. And especially peach cobbler. This is a tea from Bird and Blend. It is called peach cobbler, and it is Ceylon black tea, freeze-dried peach, pink cornflowers, and other natural flavoring. It smells perfect and peachy, and while the peaches certainly won't be perfect until August, I thought I would try that today, and I am drinking in my Sip Something Sinful mug, which was a gift from a friend. There is nothing I love more than summer fruits, peaches, plums, nectarines, and cobbler, and tarts, and like that is just my favorite happy place in the summer. And one of the few reasons that I love summer, because in general it's just too hot for me. But I do love that. So I have lots to share with you this week. Last week, you may remember I finished a bunch of kind of longer term, bigger projects that I had been waiting to finish. So this week is all about cast-ons. And I haven't made a huge amount of progress, but I did get a little bit done, enough to start showing you. But the one thing that I did finish is I finished a hat. And this was just, I was in the mood to knit another charity hat. I had unearthed some other scraps, including the leftover Alegria Grande from this cowl. And I think I talked about this a little bit last week. I found some gray, which I think is some leftover either Zen Yarn Garden or Madeline Tosh, I can't remember. And then you can see the variegated stripe is the yarn here, and then the pink I think was some brown sheep. It was their prairie spun. I think that's what this is. I cannot remember 100%, but I think it is their prairie spun in coneflower, and I used that in my Humulus pullover. And so I just knit kind of my standard hat. It was 80 stitches. I did 2x2 rib. I knit approximately for 7 inches, and then decreased, and then of course I added a pom-pom with some of the leftovers. I have just the various very tiniest bit of gray, like maybe enough to tie up some of my spinning skeins. I have a little bit more of the Allegria Grande and almost none of the pink left. So this was kind of a fun one. I'll probably throw this in my donation bin with all the crazy colorful hats to send this fall, and so that's just another one for the stash. I did pull out a skein of handspun to maybe start another hat, but then actually I got reminded of another project that I should do, and I will talk about that later in the podcast. So let's talk about the things that I have cast on. Last week I talked about knitting a sort of a cotton top for myself. I had, oh, and I didn't bring the yarn and the ball band. Oops. I have what I'm working on. I just don't have like a pristine skein of the yarn. Earlier this year, a client of ours who sells some yarn on Amazon sent me a bag to review, and as I was knitting the swatch, I thought that it felt really nice, and it is only available in bags, not by the single skein, and the bag had approximately 860 yards in it, and I thought, well, that's enough to knit myself a summer top in. So this is Knit Pals. It's called Cotton to the Core. All the colors are sort of a little bit distressed looking. There's some color and then there's some lighter spots. It's really nice. The fiber itself is 85% cotton and 15% acrylic. So it does have a little bit of acrylic in it, but it is an easy care washable yarn and it comes in a variety of colors. The colorway I chose at the time was kind of this denim colorway, and my thought was that when choosing these, because they are available in, she has more than one yarn. Sorry, she also has an acrylic yarn. And I got a bag of each basically so that I could knit up some swatches and give her some reviews and some feedback. And the other one was an acrylic. It's nice enough, but it is an acrylic. And the reason I chose blue for both of the yarns that I got was because I figured I could go ahead and use them either in some charity projects or I could use them for Hat Not Hate, which is Lion Brand's hat campaign. If there's a hat campaign, I'm there. So I got them in blues, figuring that if I didn't like them or if they weren't quite suitable for what I was looking for, that I would go ahead and use them. And I actually liked both of them, but I really, really liked this one. And so I got a bee in my bonnet the other day about wanting to do a knit top. And so I went ahead and cast on, and I had found a free pattern. It was called Vincas, Vincas, from Barocco. I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't know. And it was written for Barocco yarns, but it was approximately the same weight and gauge. And so I went ahead and started knitting it for myself. The pattern itself was basically 2 rectangles with some minor shoulder and neck shaping, and it was kind of a stitch sampler. It had a variety of stitches. And honestly, I made it a little more complicated than it needed to be, and I kind of screwed it up. So I can't remember if I showed you last week. I think I showed you like the very beginnings of it last week. The deal is that, like I said, it's 2 rectangles. So the first thing I did was I forgot that when you're knitting 2 rectangles and you're going to seam them together, there's basically 1 extra stitch on either side of each panel that ends up going into the seam. So usually if I attempt to knit those projects in the round, I go ahead and omit those stitches. So the first thing that I did was I cast on for the full amount, which was 4 stitches more than I needed, and at the gauge I was doing, that was another almost inch. The second thing I did was I didn't swatch. Yes, do as I say, not as I do. I didn't swatch, and so it was coming out horribly big. It is supposed to be a slightly oversized top, and I was looking at 10 to 12 inches of oversized, which was way more than I wanted. The third problem is that because it was written as 2 rectangles, all the stitch patterns and charts were written to be knit back and forth, and I was converting them in the round, and I kept screwing them up because they were not written out as charts. They were written out as, they were not depicted as charts. They were depicted, written out as directions, and I kind of forgot that I was needing to, and the final thing, the complete death knell, was that when I got to the third pattern, I didn't really understand what was supposed to happen, and I did the first pattern repeat and then realized that I had done it wrong, and I was going to have to pull out 4 rows, at which point I looked at the body and said, this is going to be way too big, I don't want to do this, and so I ripped the whole thing out. And then I tried to decide what I wanted to do. And ultimately what I decided was that I still wanted a really cute summer top, and that maybe it was just a few too many things complicating it, and that maybe I would just make something super simple. So what I did is I went ahead and cast on a rectangle back and forth, and I cast it on a smaller needle size using the stitch counts suggested in the pattern, and I decided to do one side at a time. I also decided to omit a lot of the textured patterns and just do a pretty simple stockinette with just an occasional purl stitch, which creates sort of a little bit of a dot pattern for myself. So what I ended up with, and I have now knit back all the yarn that I had previously put that I had knit into the previous one. So now I am on to new yarn, but what I have so far is this. So again, this is just a very, very simple pattern. What I have done is I've just taken it and done stockinette and used a little bit of the dot. I also removed a little bit. They had called for 3 inches of ribbing, and I have about between 1 and 1.5 at the bottom. And that is the way that I'm also going to account for the fact that I was potentially going to be a little short for the edgings and stuff, and so that extra 1.5 inches that I'm not putting on the bottom hem will cover me just fine at the sleeves, and that should give me everything that I need to finish this pattern. So basically I am just working on this piece flat whenever I have time. It is really, really easy, and I'm really hoping that that isn't a line in it. I'm hoping that that's a tension line, not a color line, because I will tell you right now I am not alternating skeins because they look to be machine dyed, so I was hoping that there wouldn't be, but you know what? There is. There totally is. Gosh darn it. There totally is a line right there. I see it too. So now I don't know what I'm going to do. I may pull it back. I may not pull it back. I may just wash this a bunch and hope that it will be a little distressed and that the colors will line up better. Dadgummit. I wanted this to be an easy 1, 2, 3 summer top that I was ready to wear right away, and it doesn't look like it's going to be that. But okay, maybe when I wash this and block it, it will be a little bit better, because the first skein had actually been knit and washed before. So we will see. But that is what I'm working on. My hope is that I can finish this in the next week or two. I really, really, really want a summer top that was kind of a short, quick win. And I realize it's 800 yards, but I would really, really like a top for myself that I can wear at home. So I'm going to keep going with this and hope that my luck changes a little bit, and we'll see, and I'll show you more next week. So that is the first thing that's on my needles. The second thing on my needles is I talked about last week how I needed to get started on the children's sweaters. I have a niece, Roxy, who will be 9 this fall, and a nephew, Miles, who will be 6 this fall. And each year for their birthdays, both of which fall in October, I knit them a sweater. So I had already picked out exactly what I wanted to do for Roxy, and I ordered yarn a few weeks ago, and so this week I cast on. The pattern that I cast on is a pattern by Elena Nodell, who sadly has passed away. She passed away, it's already been a few years. I think it was before the pandemic. Her patterns are still available on Ravelry, and the proceeds go to her husband and daughter. And she has some really lovely patterns both for adults and for children. She designed more child sweaters as her daughter grew, and I want to say her daughter is probably a teenager now, but was not when she was doing a lot of her designing. And so I actually fell in love with the adult version of this pattern, and then I saw she had a child version of it, and it has been on my someday knit list, but the child version is called Cinnamon. I can't remember what the adult version is called. It's another spice. She designed several sweaters and called them kind of the spice series, and the pattern is called Cinnamon, and it is a primarily reverse stockinette with a little bit of ribbing in it, cardigan that is a long cardigan. In some of the models it goes almost down to their knees. I'm not going to make mine that long, and it is kind of long and I already said that. It is long and pretty simple, but pretty kind of just a graphic pattern, and then it's got this really big high collar that's really cool, and her version has short sleeves, but I'm going to make my version with long sleeves, and again, I'm going to probably take a little bit off the body so that I have enough to do for long sleeves. So this weekend I went ahead and cast on, and I didn't get super far, but it is a basic raglan sweater, and then like I said, it's mostly reverse stockinette. and with this nice sort of single rib pattern. So this is kind of the pattern for the whole body, and as you can see, I have gotten into my raglan shaping. It's just a top down with raglan, and then it's got a nice buttoned front. It's kind of a stylized sweater. The top calls for several big buttons, but it doesn't get buttoned all the way down, and you provisionally cast on the neckline because we will add the collar after. So not a ton of progress, but for a couple days work. I think I started this on either Thursday or Friday night. So I've just done some, and actually my wrists were bothering me a little bit this weekend, so I didn't knit as much as I thought I would. But this is the right side. It will be mostly reverse stockinette with these lines. And the yarn that I am using, I brought the tag. It is one of my favorites. This is Dreaming Color Classy, which is 100% superwash merino, and it is available. It is okay to machine wash it. I think my sister actually machine dries it as well, and I think it's fine for the kids. It could shrink a little bit, and I might not do that for my sweaters, but since it is a great superwash yarn, I have used it for sweaters for the kids before, and it has worn perfectly well. And the colorway that I am using is called Rosy. So it is kind of a pink, a coral plus a pink, and so it's kind of a pinky orange, and I think it's just going to be really nice. I really like their colors because a lot of their colors are sort of semi-solids, like this one is. I mean, it's got a little bit of other tone in it, which gives it some depth, but it's also not like super variegated, so it's not going to look super splotchy. Anyway, I thought that would be nice for Roxy. You know, it's always interesting trying to decide what to make for kids these days. I am not a prude by any stretch of the imagination, but I also don't feel that it's completely necessary to have 9-year-olds dressing like teenagers and adults. I feel like there has to be some medium between like cutesy butterflies and see-through. And so I remember at my age desperately sort of wanting to feel older and look older. And so a lot of what I have chosen when I make designs for the kids are designs that are a little bit more clean and elegant and look a little bit more, not even traditional, but look a little bit more grown up without actually, exposing them like some of the adult fashions we see do. And again, I'm not a prude. I feel like everyone should be able to decide which clothes that they should wear, but I'm also, I find these days that little girls and even preteens and tweens get hypersexualized, and I'm just not sure that that's what I'm looking for. So when I look for patterns for them, I look for patterns that are stylish and would be fun and might make them feel a little bit grown up, and that's sort of how I get to the patterns that I knit. I'm still not 100% sure what I'm going to be doing for Miles this year. I ordered some yarn for him. It is a kind of a bright blue. I've used it before. It's kind of a royal blue color. And so there's nothing Miles loves more than Super Mario. Like, that is his thing. It has been for the last couple of years, and he is Super Mario all the way. Although he told me the other day that Luigi is his favorite, so I do have to consider that. A few months ago on Ravelry, I found it was actually a double knit scarf with a bunch of charts for Super Mario Brothers. And while I know that Nintendo has copyrighted those, and that technically those are probably not legal or authorized for sale, I went ahead and bought the pattern so that I would have those charts because I thought they might come in handy one day for Miles. And so my thought is right now, I think I'm going to knit him kind of a fairly traditional, just basic raglan sweater. And then my thought is that I might use some of those charts to duplicate stitch across the bottom, maybe Luigi and some magic mushrooms and, or pipes or something else that's in those charts to kind of make it his Super Mario sweater. So I think that's what I'm going to do for him, but since I hadn't decided yet, I decided to start on Roxy's first. And again, this will get some good time this week because I really do, I would love to finish this by the end of May. I want to finish everything by the end of May, and I realize that not everything's going to get done by the end of May, but I would really love to finish this by the end of May or beginning of June because this summer is going to be busy. I'm going to be doing some traveling for work, and I just really want to be sure that I'm ready for fall with their sweaters, and then I don't have to do it all at the last minute. So that is the second project that I'm working on. Traveling for work brings me to the next things that I pulled out of the stash today, and these will be cast on in the next couple weeks, so I thought I would bring them and show them to you. This summer I am going to be attending the H&H America show, and that's a new industry trade show brought to us by Colnessa, which is a German company, and they have produced H&H cologne for many, many years. And full disclosure, they are a client of ours, and then I am also going to the show, hopefully to meet and network with other businesses. I'm going on behalf of my day job, which is working for Stitchcraft Marketing. One of the things that H&H Americas has done is they have partnered up with a charity called Knit the Rainbow. And Knit the Rainbow is committed to providing support services for LGBTQIA youth. It started in New York City, but it is slowly branching out across the United States. And one of the things that they do is they collect knit goods for LGBTQIA youth. I believe they also collect craft supplies, and they are starting to work with crafting classes, teaching people who want to learn how to craft. But one of the things that they are doing with the H&H America Summer Show, which will be held mid-June, is they are sort of doing a charity drive and asking for people to knit and donate. And if you know me, and as you have seen, I love to knit, particularly hats, scarves. You know, I'm a little iffy on mittens. Fingerless mitts are fine. Anything that doesn't have lots of fingers is fine. And so I was reminded this weekend that H&H is coming up because it's mid-June, and that I wanted to knit a few things to donate. So I knew that I had a few skeins in my stash. I had bought them when I was planning to design some more hats, and at least right now that is not in the plans, so I decided I would go ahead and use them, and if I decide to design, I'll just buy a few more things. So two of the skeins that I knew I had in my stash, and I had bought them to be used together, but I'm just going to use these for hats as I can, is I had bought two skeins from Neighborhood Fiber Company, and this is their Studio DK. I don't know if they still have this base because I know they've switched to a bunch of organic bases, but this I bought a few years ago. This is their Studio DK, and I bought it in two colorways. One is called Washington Circle, which is this royal blue, and one is called Bel Air, which is this kind of neon green. Each of these skeins is 275 yards of superwash merino, which means it will be roughly easy care. And so I have decided that in the next month or two, I'm going to knit a couple hats to take these. I might be able, out of these two skeins, to get 3 hats based on the yardage that is in them. Probably a blue one, a green one, and then something with the 2 colors. And my thought is maybe I will try that, and I will make that as my donation, and it will get 2 more skeins out of my stash, which overfloweth. So, if you are interested in participating, you can look up Knit the Rainbow and H+H. I know a lot of people are donating, are bringing things to the show and donating. A lot of yarn shops are encouraging their patrons to knit, and they will bring the donations to the show. You can also find out information where you can just send donations if you would like, and I will offer, if you would really like to knit and make donations and you would like them to be delivered to the show in person, you can DM me on either Instagram, or you can use Ravelry, or you can contact me at thecornerofknitandtea@gmail.com, and I would be happy to walk your donations in for you because I will be there. But it is there are endless numbers of good causes to craft for, and that is one of them. So if that is something you are interested in, give that a try. You can also find them if you just Google Knit the Rainbow. They have their own website, and they are a 501c3, and so you can help them in a variety of ways, either by knitting or by donating. By knitting and donating the things you've knit, or by donating money so that they can use it to further their goals. So that's coming up. I will tell you, I also have another sample from Zen Yarn Garden that will be cast on sometime in the next couple weeks, and I'm working on another chicken. So I have plenty of things to keep me occupied for May, and hopefully I will have a few smaller projects or quick finishes that I will be able to bring to show you. So let me take a sip of tea, we'll get into spinning, and then I will get you on out of here. So I have several things to show you for spinning, and I'm really excited because I feel like I have been slacking on that for the last few months, or have just been slow at getting things done. And I know that this is going to be a big knitting month. I also know that July is coming, and that will be Tour de France. And I guess I need to start thinking about that. Ooh, Lord. We're getting so close to summer and everything's coming. Tour de France is coming this summer. I don't know the dates yet. Usually it starts at the very end of June and runs through July. Occasionally it doesn't start till July 1st. I'll have to double check the dates. I will be doing a team again. Generally, last year I did not do it on Ravelry because of the fact that Ravelry is so hard for people to use. Or I think I opened a thread on Ravelry, but that was not the exclusive place. I also have a Facebook group. You can also participate on Instagram. If you have been on my team before, you know that there are very few rules. Spin as much as you want. Be a member of the group. Well, I don't know how I'll do that this year. I think I will say you have to share. You have to either join one of the groups or you have to share your photos with the appropriate hashtag to be eligible for prizes. There will be prizes. Usually I've said you have to be a member of the group, but I'm not going to make that. You don't have to join a technological group. You probably have to be able to, well, okay, I will say I will draw from all the prizes that are shared in either the Facebook group or the Ravelry group or shared on Instagram with the hashtag. And if you are none of those places, you can just email me a few photos and I will count you as a member of the team and throw you in for the drawing. So, that was like a very brief announcement for Tour de Fleece. I will come back to it later, but suffice it to say there will be lots of spinning content coming up, if not right now, then shortly, and I am excited about that. That was completely on the fly. I completely forgot about that. Okay, so let's talk about the spins. The first thing is that I finished, and this is really finished. It has been washed and everything. I just need to take measurements. But I finished the braid that I was spinning last time. It was a braid from Gritty Knits, and it is a BFL skein in the colorway Calm Down, and it is blues and purples and then this bright green. And I do not think that I know the screen that I can see on my camera is not doing it justice. I spun the skein in a fractal, which is I spun one half of it straight through, so I had long color repeats, and then the second half of it I split precisely in half, so it was slightly shorter color repeats, and I ended up getting sections that were, you know, green on green, so very green with even a few pops of yellow, and then I had sections that were blue on blue or purple on blue, so there are lots of fun colors in this. It's definitely a kind of watercolor skein. The greens appear twice in the skein, although it's a little bit different because, like I said, one was spun straight through green through blue purple, and one had green through blue purple and green through blue purple, blurple. And this is a skein that is probably almost 400 yards. I need to do the finished weighing and measuring and take photos, but this will be up in my Etsy shop by the time you watch this. So if this is something that appeals to you, it is BFL, which means it is pretty sturdy. It is soft enough for next to the skin wear, and it has just a little bit of shine to it. A lot of the longer stapled wools do, and Blue Face Leicester is a longer wool. You could certainly use it for socks, although it is not superwash, but it would make a lovely shawlette or other accessories, and it will stripe subtly. Like I said, it will go from kind of greens to blues to purples and greens to blues and purples, although it will not stripe 100% the same because, like I said, one ply is one long color gradient. So that is kind of a beautiful, I guess that gives you a little bit of the green, but there will be better pictures on Instagram as soon as I finish this podcast recording and get it up in the shop. So that is definitely something that will be happening today. The other thing that I finished this week is a spin that has been lingering on my wheel for several weeks now, and actually it is not finished. I lied. The singles are finished and I will be plying it tonight. So it is very close to finished. And that is a braid from Nitty and Color, who does fabulous bright braids and then also some dark and moody braids. And I don't know how much you can see, but this was a braid that had some sections of bright pink overdyed with black. So it is a very moody kind of gray and black and undertones of pink and mauve. And so I'm not exactly sure what it's going to come out like. I think it's going to be fairly dark with a few lighter spots where there is lots of pink. And this one just took me a while to get through, I think, because, well, well, for a couple reasons. One is that I generally like to spin more color. I kind of forgot when I bought the overdyed black braid that the overdyed black braids are not my favorite to spin. They also aren't my favorite to spin because black dye notoriously is hard to exhaust, and so I had a little bit of black on my fingers when I was spinning it, and that always turns me off of spinning. That is not anything negative against Nidhi in color. I have spun tons of her braids and love them. They are really beautifully prepared, and her color sense is just, if you like bright colors, it is amazing. But the deal is that that this was just a misbuy for my particular tastes. It is, I believe, Tarhi, which means it is going to fluff up a little bit, and I have no idea on the yardage because I have not applied it yet. So I will be applying that tonight, and maybe that will go into the shop later this week, or I will definitely have it ready to show you for next week. Which brings me to my next spin. And I decided that this one is going to be a bright, colorful spin. I have been staring at the braids from Spin Delicious on Instagram for a while now. She is a small dyer out of, I believe, California. She updates on Pacific time. And she updates at 9 a.m. Pacific time on Friday mornings. And for probably the better part of the last 6 months, I have been trying to get some of her fiber, and I never remember that it's going to update, at what time it's going to update. And by the time I get there, she is always all sold out. She does extremely small batches because she is kind of a single maker, and she is very proud of the fact that she does small batches and will never be like a big, you know, sort of commercial dyer. This is what she loves. But so I was excited to hit upon an update, and I got 2 braids, and the first one that I got is this amazing braid. It is turquoises and yellows and greens, and then more like pink and purple, and it is just crazy bright and amazing looking. It definitely has an Easter feel. I bought it a couple weeks before Easter, and I'm only getting to it now. It is 100% USA Superwash Merino. I'm sorry, it was dyed in Grants Pass, Oregon. And it is called Mirabelle. So, and it is kind of a skinny, almost roving, and so my guess is I'm probably going to spin it straight through and see what I get. So I'm really excited about that. It just looks kind of like a fun, springy colors, and like I said, I know it's a little bit Eastery, but my hope is that it will be a super fun braid, and this will be for the shop, so I'm excited about that. And it's really interesting because I don't always love spinning superwash merino, because it is kind of slick, but it takes the colors brilliantly. When you look at superwash merino that has been dyed, it takes acid dyes so amazingly. They strike and they stay really saturated and really true. And so I go back and forth because I don't know that I love superwash wool, but I just love the way it looks. So that is what I'll be working on this week. So I think that brings me to the end of my podcast. I hope that you are enjoying your week, that your week has gotten off to a good start, that you are feeling crafty. I feel all the crafts right now, and like I said, my only frustration was that this weekend my wrists hurt a little bit, and so I did not craft as much as I could. I have more things that I want to craft than I have crafting time, and so I am just going to dig in and kind of attack it one bite at a time and see where I get. So I hope that you have a lovely, lovely week ahead. I hope that you are finding things to craft and or enjoying your summer weather, your springy summer weather. Or if you are in the opposite part of the world, I hope you are enjoying your fall weather. And I will say, as I always do, until I see you next time, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next week. Bye.